Hi folks, here we are on a dark, scary night for our ghost story chat. So I am here dressed in black, got my whole ghostly look going on here. So as usual we're going... As usual, he's just going to keep doing that every time I talk. So what we're going to do is give it a few moments as usual while we wait for people to join in. But tonight is Scottish Ghost Story Night. So I have a few ghost stories to share with you tonight, and I'm creating a wee bit of atmosphere. So I hope you enjoy the atmosphere in my dark, cold lounge. And we've also got that scary picture that Helmet painted behind me as well. So hopefully, if you can see that lovely boat wreck and our lovely sound effects, we've got a storm brewing behind us. Okay, so we're just going to hold on for a few moments. I can see we've got some folks here on Instagram and on Facebook. Hold on a minute, Jennifer. It was, Jennifer's just asked if that was Sasha or Helmet. It was Helmet. Oh, thank you, Bonnie. I dressed up for the occasion. I thought I have quite a number of black dresses, but this is probably the most gothic-y one I have to hand, so I did this. So yes, Sharon, a night of ghost stories. So if you're interested in Scottish ghost stories, stay tuned. So hi Dee, nice to see you're watching. Give me a wee second, I've just got us up here so that I don't have to read you up here, especially because I forgot to put my glasses on. I'm going to watch myself here. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so let's see. So we've got some more folks coming in on Instagram. Hello. Before we start, we'll get the formalities out the way. Tom. Hi, Tom. It's nice to hear from you. Yes, I am doing very well, thank you, and I hope you are too. Oh, Bonnie, thank you. Don't worry, if you need some of my help, I'll be there. But I'm gonna get all like dramatic on you guys tonight. I hope you're interested. I hope you're gonna enjoy it. Setting the scene for ghost stories. So we've got Aaron. Hello, E Blythe. Brayhead Glamping, awesome. So let's see. Raf, hi Raf, let me just quickly see. Is there going to be any bothy ghost stories? Yes, in fact, there is a bothy ghost story going to happen tonight. A ghost story that was actually told to me by my grandfather, who was up staying in a bothy one night. So I hope it inspires you guys when you're up in the north of Scotland, or anywhere in Scotland really that has a bothy, that you don't get to sleep a wink because of the story that I'm going to tell you. So now that we're all here, as you can see, I've tried to make myself look a bit scary. So hopefully I do look scary, but I don't usually look very scary. So I'm going to start us off with the tale. And we'll start, because Raf's mentioned it, we'll start off with the tale of the ghostly bothy story. So years ago, about 20 years ago, my grandfather Ian was hiking with a very good friend that he had, his work friend. And they were quite happy to go and walk about the hills, and it was something that they enjoyed doing together. Well, one day they went up into a mountainside in Argyll, and they started to climb, and everything was great, and they had a wonderful day climbing. The problem was that as they went to their bothy that night, in the middle of nowhere, they were the only two souls at the bothy that night. His friend Jimmy went in to set the stove on and get a nice cup of tea brewing and a couple of whiskies, because that's what you do when you're up at a bothy, you take a bottle of whiskey with you. Well, my grandfather needed to go out and relieve himself, shall we say. Now guys, this is in the Scottish mountains. It's pitch black. You can't see in front of your own nose. It is that dark. And so my grandfather goes out. He can hear his footsteps on the stony path just outside the bothy. And then all of a sudden, as he's sorting himself out, he hears some footsteps walking towards him. So he stands there and he goes, "Right, Jimmy," you know, as he's standing there doing his business. "Jimmy, can you hear me?" Still nothing. "Jimmy!" Then the footsteps start walking away again and disappeared. So then he went back into the bothy and he said to his pal, "Jimmy, why'd you not say anything? I just, I was just there. I was just talking to you and you were that, you got a problem. What's going on?" Jimmy went, "What the hell are you talking about? I've been in here the whole time." So there was somebody else in the middle of nowhere who walked up right next to my grandfather, quite the thing, and walked away again. My grandfather, the way he tells it, he says it wasn't a negative spirit. It was quite peaceful. He didn't feel like it wanted to do him any harm, but there was definitely somebody walking up next to him that night in the middle of nowhere in the Scottish mountains. For anyone who doesn't know a bothy or doesn't know the situation in Scotland when you're going up these mountains, you could be the only person there. Only person, only soul there. So the likelihood of another hiker walking up past them is incredibly, incredibly low. Now, I thought I would bring in another wee story, because when I was a teenager, my old Uncle Robert, who, God rest his wee soul, he was nearly 100 when he died, but he was my granda's uncle. And I went up to visit him one day with my grandfather. I can't remember if my mum was there, but we had some other distant cousins who were over visiting as well, up in his wee high flat in Greenock. And we were talking, and there were a few whiskies were had and a wee blether, as we do in Scotland. If we have a get together, everybody has a wee blether and maybe a wee sing song. Well, this particular evening we got talking about ghost stories, and my great uncle he did not believe in it whatsoever. He said rubbish, and he just wiped it away. Well, one of my relatives who was there that day told us a similar story about up climbing in the Scottish hills. And that was, wherever they were climbing, now bear in mind this was quite a few years ago, but they went up climbing, and as they were, wherever the B&B or wherever they were staying, they would make them their breakfast. So this is quite a long time ago, guys. This is probably even maybe 40, 50 years ago that we're talking about here. The gentleman who told the story is my grandfather's cousin, so he's about the same age as my granddad, in his 80s. So this is about 30, 40 years ago, maybe even more, 50 years ago. And just before they set out on the hills, they were given a wee breakfast, and the wee lady who ran the bed and breakfast, or the hostel, or whatever it was, waved them off and said, have a nice day and enjoy yourselves, stay safe, climbing the hills. Well, she waved them off. When they came back, she was quite distressed, and they said, well, what's the matter with you? She said, I waved some people up there just now, and they waved back at me, but they should have been back by now. I don't know what's happening. I waved them up, you know, I think I'm going to go and call the search and rescue folks. Well, they did. Nobody else went up the mountain that day. The people that she had seen was a ghostly apparition that apparently you could see every couple of years, of a group of foreign hikers who went up the Scottish mountains, perished in the hills, and they go, whenever you see them, they wave you off at the bottom to say, bye, see you back, see you for dinner time. But unfortunately, they didn't make it home. So that's another wee story. In the Scottish wilderness again, the same sort of thought is, I told you guys all that creepy story about me when I was 16 and the wee boy in the place up in Wester Ross. Well, that same night, according to my grandfather, as him and my mother were driving back from Ullapool from a wee ceilidh that they were at, in the middle of the nowhere, this chap dressed in full Highland gear, in the middle of the night, so bear in mind this is dark, it's the middle of the night, this chap crosses the road in front of them, waves at them like that, and then disappeared. So that's his story. So before we go on, I'm going to let you carry on with this spooky music behind me, or spooky thunder and lightning, whatever it is. Let's just see, I'm just going to have a quick read at some of the comments that we're getting. So we've got Cavi, hi Cavi, nice to see you. We've got Tom Coonan. Do you have the tradition or story of the hungry grass in Scotland cat in Ireland years ago? There was a belief that if you walked on a patch of grass where a famine victim had died, you felt the hunger pains of the poor soul who had died there. Sorry if it's off your point. Well, I suppose we do have other similar things, Tom, in Scotland. One of the things that we actually have in Scotland, this is slightly off-piste, but a couple of years ago, I was 17 years of age, and I had just come back from a holiday with my family in South Africa, and I was going to visit my friends, because I had, you know, when you're young and you buy all your friends souvenirs. Well, I had bought, and cigarettes, I had bought my friend souvenirs and cigarettes, and I went to her house, and her house is at the bottom of a place called Lyle Hill in Greenock, which has its own history, lots of death and destruction nearby there too. But anyway, I was going to give her some stuff, and I just saw this weird cat, and I kid you not, it was the size of a panther-ish size, black, walking up the road. It wasn't a dog, it wasn't a cat, my eyes were not deceiving me. This cat, this wild beast, has been seen around Inverclyde at different points for the past so many decades that it's hard to ignore. So that's another slightly off the route, but I did definitely see that. I got such a fright as well, because you see this massive big cat it wasn't interested in me right enough, but there you go. Another wee story, since we're on the Highlands here, is a friend of mine told me, there's two more stories really from this friend of mine, that's up in Sutherland, where his family are all from. A relative told him that a story had been passed down the past 2 generations of his great grandfather or great uncle, who, this is before really motor cars, so he was walking home from wherever he was, whether it was the pub or whatever, whatever he was doing, and as he was walking home he seen this figure approaching, and as the figure started to approach, it started to look like this, coming towards him. And then he noticed that this figure wasn't walking like he was. It was levitating off the floor. Now in the Gaelic, in the Scottish tradition, it's called walking like the fairy folk. So he was just gliding. So he obviously freaked out because he'd already said hello and welcomed this thing. Oh gosh, guys, I've got so many stories. He just welcomed this guy in and started to move away, and he started to put his head down, walked down the path, and once he'd passed the figure, he could see it was just gliding past him. He looked back and the figure had disappeared. So think about that for a minute. Hi JP! Hope you're doing good. Some nice bro love. So that's a pretty scary one. There's another one about the same chap driving the back roads with his friends one night, and as they were driving, the headlights, and again this is in the middle of nowhere folks, the back roads is a term in Scotland, it's the old country roads, so it's not a road that you would have many cars on, or many people on for that matter. Well, especially in this is a fairly rural part of Scotland as well, so very rural. And as he was driving down the road with his friends, they saw that there was a figure in front of them in the road, so they started to beep. They had the headlamps on, and as they got closer, they could see this old male figure with wearing full gillies, almost as if he was a fisherman. And he was standing out in the road, looking at them and pointing to the shore of the loch. He was pointing like that. Just pointing, looking very dour, just pointing out. So they obviously freaked out, because they thought, oh, we're going to hit this wee man, what if there's something wrong? So as they got closer, the man vanished into thin air. Everybody in the vehicle had seen him. He was there, but he was no longer there. And when they looked back, guess what? Anyone want to hazard a guess? He reappeared, just pointing, looking the one way and pointing towards the loch. So there's no lore about him though. No one knows what happened. No, nothing in the papers to suggest that anyone had come into any kind of misfortune there, but who knows? This wee old guy was certainly there. So let's just quickly see. We've got my brother joining us on Facebook. Hi Jordan, and Rosa. Hola, nice to see you here. Okay, so you're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you. It's a wee west coast of Scotland accent. I'm trying to be scary. I don't know if it's working. So that's the one story. So let's go. There was another story, and this happened fairly recently, actually. A friend of mine was up in Ascent, up in the very northwest of Scotland, and she was hiking by herself, like a bit a bit strange. Actually, okay, I'll just quickly answer this question. McDade, you're asking what loch am I talking about? I'm talking about Loch Fyne. If anyone's wanting to know, it's Loch Fyne I'm talking about. That's where the haunting of that chap happened. But no, I was just talking to her today actually about a pub quiz she's going to do. So Nikki, if you're watching, I'll just see if I can get Nikki up here. Hi Jamie. Here we go. So Nikki knows, and she always contacts me if she has any spiritual encounters, and she's lived in spooky places most of her life, and she's also gifted with the second sight. But I'm just going to tell you what she saw, because it kind of freaked me out a wee bit. If I can get it, because I've actually got a photograph which I'm going to share with you folks, because she sent it to me afterwards, and you can definitely see something that's animal-like. And it freaked me out because while she was up there, she went into this old ruined house next to the castle. And while she was there, she had this really urgent feeling to get out. Okay? She needed to get out. And she felt this just terrifying sensation come over her that she needed to get out of this place. So she ran out, and she very shakingly took a picture from her car, and then she sent me it. And this kind of comes into what Tom was talking about before, because it reminded me of an animal spirit, okay, and quite a negative animal spirit. It didn't want her to be there. So it wasn't like an animal, but whatever it was manifested itself like an animal. And it was like, the only way I can describe it, because I can sometimes feel these things and I get a sense and I can see it in my head. The only way, when she sent me that picture, and you can't actually really see anything, I can just tell, I get like a connection to something sometimes, and I could sense this really, like, almost like a big black dog, okay, like a big black dog. Now, I obviously went to check this this out afterwards, because it is the old Mackenzie Castle, and I'll tell you where it was now, the actual name of the house. There's Ardvik Castle, okay, and there's a wee house just off of Ardvik Castle, which was actually the house where the chief used to stay, and they apparently set it on fire themselves. So I went and did a wee bit of history about that wee house myself after the fact, but that completely terrified me for quite a few nights thereafter. I did not sleep because of this big beastly hound thing basically wanting her to leave, to get out of their domain. Now, when I went to look at the other hauntings, and I'm just going to pull it up here, there was a story about an old woman who lived there and she didn't want to leave. And the story is that she went back because that was her place and she doesn't want anyone taking her away. So it could be that she is manifesting herself as this creature to scare people away. Because you think about it logically here. You have a dog is a guard dog. They bark, they protect your place and your space. So she potentially, and I can't say for sure, is manifesting herself as a dog of sorts to scare away, to guard her place. That's the only way I can explain it, but that was my mental image as soon as I saw that photograph that she sent me. It was really very uncomfortable feeling. So I'm just going to quickly check here. We've got some folks here on Insta, and let's have a look quickly on Facebook. Tom says, it sounds like the story of Loftus Hall in Wexford. Cat, the story where the last lady to own the house left the house, told her to get out. I'm leaving the lights on tonight. Ooh. Helen, you're in Skelmerley. Just don't go up the Meagle. That's all I'm going to say tonight. Ian, yes, sounds like the Hound of Baskerville. Yes, it does a wee bit. But it's, if you go and search Ardvik Castle and go and see, there's some hauntings that have happened there as well before. Quite a few hauntings actually up there. A tatty bogey, yes, Jamie. And that's the other thing. We have some supposed spirits here and legends here in Inverclyde, and you're saying Tatty Bogle, sorry. The Bogle Stone, we've got a Bogle Stone in Port Glasgow, which is supposed where the wee Bogle man lives. And if you came there and you had the wish and you managed to catch him, he would tell you whatever, grant you your wish, whatever that might be. So that's a little bit of local folklore here, and we've got quite a lot. Just where we are here, about 2 minutes down the road, we also had our own witch trials, and our witches are buried just down there. So we have our own spooky, scary stories. If you have anything at all, any spooky ghost stories about Scotland, please let me know, because I'll bring them up on Ghost Story Night. So tonight I'm basically relaying other people's stories that they have said to me over the years. So if you have any, please let me know. I've kind of almost exhausted mine, which is quite a lot, to be fair. I haven't really exhausted them, but they're the kind of tangible ones that you can touch and you can explain. I mean, I've had all sorts of things happen to me, from ghostly dreams to hearing people's voices in my ear. hearing somebody, it's actually not something I want to necessarily talk about because it's quite personal to some people that I know. But there are some really weird things that have happened to me as well in the past. Now, we'll go to another ghost story, and it has a similar feeling, and it's about getting out, and that is at a house not too far from here. There were some tenants, and this came from a friend of mine who knew the tenants, and they couldn't go back because things started to happen and real poltergeist sort of activity started to happen. And what happened was they would wake up with scratches down their arms, actual scratches, as if somebody had been scratching them. They had things move around the room. They had animals, pets, that would not enter the room because, for whatever reason. And they started to feel quite poorly in themselves. So when they got somebody over, they found out that this was all related to a poltergeist. Now, the girl had seen the poltergeist before. She had seen the spirit, a very terrifying spirit, because I personally believe, guys, you're probably going to think this is a load of nonsense, but you get to know me well. There are three types of spirits, okay? There's the spirits who know that they're past, and they're fairly happy. There are spirits who are not spirits, really, they're more a memory. That's probably the best way I can explain it. And this is when you see things like a ghost walking through a wall, or something walking through the wall, like a Roman legion walking down the street up to their knees because the road was much lower in their time. All these like weird and wonderful things, they are a memory. They're not necessarily an actual physical presence that you'll see. I mean, they're still physical, but they're not aware of you or anything else around them. And you have those who like to be a bit mischievous. I don't like to use the word evil because I don't like to think that anything's really that evil in life, but you have a better description is angry. So they are angry, and they can end up being more like your poltergeists and your kind of more active and nasty experiences. Not all experiences are nasty. So a lot of people are scared of ghosts, some are fairly terrifying, and they are the ones who, for whatever reason, there's something, I always like to say, like unfinished business. It's more, it's not necessarily unfinished business, it's more that I can think of right now is a spirit who I believe committed suicide. So they were quite angry, they were quite upset, and my friend at the time was incredibly skeptical, and one of my friends, and she was calling this spirit, you know, ha ha ha, you know what, you don't exist, all this kind of stuff. And for the next day I saw this thing behind her, like just a guy, just like, you know, like if you drew like a cartoon and you're like here and then you draw a big shadowy figure over you. Well, that was kind of what it was like, and I could see this chap. So I was, he was young as well. I mean, he must have only been about 17, I could gather, from when he passed. But she had insulted him, so now he was quite annoyed with her, and he wanted her to know that he was there. And so she started to feel like she was having a few nightmares and things like that. We went to the pub the next day, and we went to the pub. It's now called the Old Bank. At the time it was called the Yard. I'm kind of showing my age, anyone who's from Inverclyde here. And when we went in, I went and I mentally said to the spirit, "Gonna effing, you know, effing what? You know, just effing leave her alone, go away." Not really thinking about anything. So guys, this is where it gets really fun. So I obviously had a few drinks, thought I would just tell him where to go, and I went to the bathroom, into the ladies' room, and as I walked in, the only person, because this was in my youth, so I was going to the pub every single night, and there was about four cubicles, let's just say, and each cubicle just boom, 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 boom. Every door got kicked open, okay? And I knew it was him. And all I said was, "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. I know you're here, but you don't need to be. She didn't mean what she said. So please, we're all cool, we're all fine, we're all good." And he was never seen again. And the thing about this particular chap, the reason why I got on to him is that he was actually haunting a friend of mine's house. And she'd seen him a couple of times, and he had like a red glow. So if you have any spirits that have like a red glow, it usually means they're kind of angry or there's something not quite right. So anyway, that's my wee story. So hopefully. Oh, Sharon, having your wee dog. I love that. Sharon's got the spirit of her wee dog in her house. I love that. I think they always stay, your pets and your animals, they also stay with you. I truly believe that. Years and years ago, I had this boyfriend, and I went up to his house for the first time after a night out, and I went up to his house for a cup of coffee, and as I was sitting in his kitchen, I just saw a wee cat walk past me, and I said, "Oh, I didn't know you had a cat." And he said, "I don't, the cat died." Like literally a couple of weeks ago, the cat had just died, and I had just seen the cat, and I just went, "Oh, I didn't know you had a cat." And he didn't have a cat, so there you go. And I could just, whatever, you can believe what you like. This is real for me, guys. It's real for me. We've got Tom Coonan. Just says, "You should never underestimate or mock what can't be explained. There are more things on heaven and earth that can be understood by any that can be understood by any human mind, though some have sense of others being around them than others." Yeah, I mean, it all depends on what you believe. I know that there's something after this life. I know it because I've seen it. I have witnessed it. So for those of you who haven't witnessed it, it's totally fine. It's your own experience. It's not mine. I know that there's something after this life. I couldn't say exactly what it is, but I do know that our spirits do go somewhere else whether they're here or elsewhere, or they just stay, or there's some big ball of energy. I will not know that particular answer. But I can say for 100% definite, I believe, because I've seen and experienced other things. And I've had people tell me that I must have been having some sort of psychotic episode, and they kind of quote things that happen in the human brain at certain times, and psychosis and all this kind of stuff, especially in adolescence. But my experiences so far to date have been way too real, for me at least, and too accurate, especially when I have managed to explain things or tell people that I don't even know things, because I had somebody's ex-husband come to me in a dream and tell him that he was sorry that he killed himself. I mean, that was the weirdest thing. These things happen to me, and it's just part of my life. So there you go. Hi Amanda, no problem, don't worry about it. Amanda's like, my wee sister, can I just make a wee happy birthday to my wee sister? Megan, my second youngest sister, has just turned 28. You're nearly 30, Megan. You're nearly 30. Not too far, and then you can't laugh at me anymore. Sorry, that's just my my sister. So we've got some comments here on Instagram. I agree, I study neuroscience and I've had these experiences as well. Neuroscience doesn't explain it. Well, there you go. Hi Susie, I hope you're enjoying our Regos chat. So I've got some Templar stuff. Actually, now that you brought the Templar in, I do have a story about Roslyn Chapel. I was there, well, I go there all the time. It's stupid me saying, oh, I was there like 3 years ago. No, I go to Roslyn quite a lot, and as part of my job. And years ago, when I was a teenager, when I first went to Roslyn Chapel, you go down into what's known as the crypt area, but it's not really a crypt. It's actually, if you know about the history about Roslyn Chapel, it's actually what they believe the original part of the church. So they believe that Roslyn Chapel extended on an existing church building, and that just so happens to be what we now associate as the crypt, because you go down, it's just the way that the land goes like that, you see. Anyway, so if you go down there, I just get this really horrible feeling. It's like a darkness, and it's like a coldness. I mean, it's cold down there anyway, guys, so I'm not going to deny that, but you get this sort of sense that it's very oppressive. So I usually get, if I don't like a place, it's because I get like an oppressive feeling. I feel like something is sitting on my chest like this, and I don't like it. And there's places where I go and I just won't go. So another place like that is inside the first burial cairn at the Clava Cairns. I don't go in there either. I just don't do it. It's here, and it's in my back. It's in my shoulder blades. It's almost like you can't go, you can't go, you can't go. It's like something is stopping me. It's myself from going. So that's a kind of weird experience that I have when sometimes somewhere. But I also have this kind of sense of like screaming. Yeah, just screaming. I can't quite explain it, other than I know that a guy was murdered there, but I couldn't say if that's it or if it's something that happened later, because we know that Cromwell was there. Cromwell actually used the chapel as a horse stables, so you don't know if somebody maybe was shot dead or executed just outside. You don't know, but there's certainly a feeling when I go down, and I don't go down. I let my group go down, and I think I was down the last time I was there. Actually, I went down, but I usually don't go down. And it's a totally different experience when I go to Roslin Castle. So Roslin Castle, if you're at Roslin Chapel, is about how far would you say Roslin Castle is from the chapel walking wise? It's about a 10-minute walk. It's not far. It's about a 10-minute walk. And it's one of my favourite castles because unlike Roslin Chapel, it has a really peaceful atmosphere. I feel nice there. I feel happy there. I can't explain it. It apparently is haunted as well. There has been quite a number of ghostly sightings seen at the castle itself, and you can imagine, I mean, the castle was, it was bombarded during the rough wooing of Mary Queen of Scots by Henry VIII, when he basically invaded Scotland and knocked down the whole bloody building, and again with Cromwell nearby. So the place itself has also seen great violence, but for some reason for me the presence that is there is one that's kind. So there you have it. It's a nice one. I just feel like that. It's nice. Oh, thank you, Jax. That's very nice. So I'll just quickly go through some of the comments here. We've got about another 10 minutes left. Hi, Daniel. We've got, so we're talking about the Holy Grail and all that at Roslin. So Roslin is said to house more than just the Holy Grail. They believe it actually also has maybe the Ark of Covenant. Is that what it's called?
What?
The Ark of Covenant. Yeah, the Ark of Covenant.
No, Roslin.
Yeah. It's the Holy Grail and the Ark of Covenant. Yeah. Anyway, they also believe aliens have some sort of base under there. You know, everything is at Roslin Chapel. And if you go into Roslin Chapel, actually, I'll just quickly bring this in because it might be of interest to you. As you come in the main entrance to the chapel with the visitor centre behind you, and you walk up, you walk in the main door. There's like a ramp for people with wheelchair access. It takes you over. And you might see my wee pal William the cat. William is actually cool. I like William. He sits there, usually to the right or maybe on one of the central pews, but always on this side usually for some reason. So if I've got here, William is usually on a pew here, right? And on this side, so if you're walking here, you'll see that there is a big slab on the floor. Obviously there's slabs everywhere. But it looks like it has been fused in, and that's because it has. It was fused in apparently in the 18th century. They fused it in. So you used to get down. So they believe that underneath Roslin Chapel is here. Okay, and they know that this is the case because it's quite normal for these sorts of buildings. Roslin Chapel is like this, the floor that you walk on. And then underneath you is a number of different warrens and corridors. They take you to different places and will obviously take you down to the crypt section. So when you go down to the crypt, which I said isn't actually a crypt, it was actually the original church, but when you look to the left, you'll also see that they have filled in this window, and they believe that was the window that, you know, when you were, this was all to stop you going to purgatory, remember? So William Sinclair, when he built it, he was only 30 when he built it, but it was his gateway to heaven, or quicker access to heaven for all the potential wrongdoings he's done in his 30 years of life. So what happened was, when you passed away, whatever clergy, monks, whatever, you'd pay them money, and then they would come and pray for your salvation and for your quick access to heaven. So that's what they used to do. You used to see like them lying out, you know, you always see it if you ever watched, what's it called, Indiana Jones and that, when they go down into a crypt and there's always this bag, you know, knights lying on top of a coffin somewhere. Well, it's kind of like that. They were kind of lying there and they would pray for them. And so whoever was down there would be put down there. But then obviously they closed that in the 18th century for whatever reason, because remember the church had been in disrepair for quite some time. So I don't know if it was because it was unsafe or what the reason was. Burns famously visited. Burns was famously a Mason. So we don't know, like, could there be a link where in the 18th century they're like, okay, we need to hide this Holy Grail down there, or whether it's just a nice story that that has been perpetuated through the centuries, who knows. But it's under that section. That was the access point. As you walk in to your left, that would have been a stairway down. I could do a wee tour of Rosslyn Chapel. I've done it many times, so there you go. Kelly, some people are more intuitive than others. I'm just quickly going on. How's everyone doing? I think everybody's doing good. Thanks, Daniel. Oh my god. Jackie just said, have you got any info on the ghost in the Arts Guild? I believe it was someone who died when it was a bath. Used to arrive early for shows and rehearsals, etc. There was defo something spooky there. Spooky. So Jackie's talking about in Greenock, our old theatre building, up until, well, it must have been, I can't remember, maybe however long the Beacon's been there, which is maybe 10 years now. I can't think off the top of my head. But before that, our Arts Guild was our theatre. And we used to love going there, and it was dusty as hell. You know, the seats, you could sit and hammer them and you'd just get these plumes of dust hitting you in the face. It was good fun. All the pantos and all the stuff we used to have at the Arts Guild. And Jackie's actually, by the way, if anyone sees, Jackie's a very talented actress. She does all the theatre stuff. If anyone's interested, got a great singing voice as well, Jackie. But anyway, so I don't know about the ghost at the Arts Guild, but I'm actually going to have to go and investigate that, because I could imagine it'd be quite terrifying. I know about the ghost at the town hall, actually. That's the one I know about, and you can always see him. In fact, oh, there's another ghost. So where we had our unit in Greenock was right down by the Glebe Sugar House, and it's believed that the Glebe Sugar House was actually haunted as well, and there has been people seeing people looking out of the window in a derelict building, which I really want, by the way. If somebody could give me a couple of, maybe, I don't know, a couple of million, I could do it up and it could be a really cool museum and visitor attraction. But or distillery guys, it could be the best distillery ever, bringing whiskey back to Greenock. Anyway, I digress. But in the sugar shed, there's a sugar shed, wrong building. In the Glebe Sugar House, there is apparently a ghost up high in the wall. So our unit was right across from the Glebe Sugar House, and I used to come out of there sometimes in really awful hours of the evening, because I'd done a 16-hour day up to Inverness and back, and dropped in Edinburgh, picked up in Edinburgh, dropped back in Edinburgh, having to come back to Greenock. So I'd get there at like maybe 10, 10:30 at night, having to park the vehicle and take my vehicle home, and like there was definitely that kind of eerie feeling there. So there you go. There was also, so I may as well tell you, the reason why I mentioned how spirits manifest themselves is really because of like strange things that people think are really bizarre, like they don't even want to tell anyone, because they're like, that can't be real, that can't be real. Why would that be the case? Why would that be, why would that happen? And it's because if you are receptive to these sorts of things, especially children and things like that, you are open to whatever comes to you, okay? So you then give off your own energy. It's just how it works. It's just basically exchanges of energy. And if you give off this really like your fears in these circumstances, that is something that those energies literally play on. And one of my first like ghost memories as a child was when I was still actually in South Africa and living in a flat. My mother had just divorced my father, not long divorced my father, and so it was just me and my little sister in the room, and I must have been about 6 or 7 years of age. In fact, no, they would have got married already. That's it, they would have already got married. In fact, now I know, now I've got it all back. They were already married, my mum and my stepdad, and we'd moved into this old house, and old is like America and Australia and places like that. Old is like 1940s, right? So that was the old house, and in our bedroom we had bunk beds, and I was on the top bunk and she was on the bottom bunk. And one night I woke up to a cackling, like ah ha 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 ha, like that. Like, I hope that was terrifying, right? Because I can do it again. Ah ha 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 ha, like that, right? Really creepy. And this thing was down the bottom, hitting the bottom of my bed, and then going down to my sister. So all I remember was screaming for her, this presence, to leave my sister alone, to just leave her alone. And I ran to my parents' room because I was terrified. I was like, I seen it. I did. I mean, guys, I was awake. And that kind of came to me. Now, you might say I was young, so maybe I was dreaming. It's plausible. But I've had experiences like that since that happened. And the weirdest one for me more recently is my son. When my son was about 6, he freaked out, and he came into our bed, and this is in the middle of the night, and he just stood over us and went, I can't go, can I sleep here, can I sleep here? I said, what's the matter, Tristan? It's okay, what's the matter? He said, I can't. I said, why can't you? He said, because there's a man looking at me over my bed, and he's just looking at me like that. So if you can imagine like a 6-year-old doing this impression of some guy who's staring at him as he's sleeping, was pretty terrifying. And I had to take him back to his bed. Said, no, there's nothing, don't worry about it. Oh shit, like that's literally what I was thinking. So that was good fun. I'm just going to quickly read. Helen also said there's a wedding picture at Newark Castle, and a woman in old-fashioned clothes is looking out at the wedding party in an unused part of the castle. I haven't seen that one yet, but certainly it could be there. And before we go, I'm going to say goodbye to our guys on Instagram. Thanks for joining. Tomorrow is our party, and I'm going to teach you all how to dance. So 10 PM UK time tomorrow. Join in. Take care, guys. Mwah. Just quickly here on Facebook, I've not seen that one in Newark Castle yet, but I do know that Newark Castle is definitely haunted. I was running about Newark Castle last year by myself, and I could say quite Yeah, definitely something there. Definitely something there. But I will have a look at it in more detail. And what about Princess Scott? Princess Scott. Sorry guys, I'm not clued up on all of the famous ghost stories in Scotland. I've got enough. I try not to read these things when I'm by myself. I only research what I see. Ghost. The Ghost of Princess Theatres. Oh, that looks like it's in Australia. Okay, I don't know that one, but I'll have a look. Was it in the Greenock Tilly? That's probably why I didn't know about it, because I don't buy it. I shouldn't say that. They did a really nice front page article on me before, so I shouldn't say that. David of Scotland. Oh, okay, I get you. I get you. We're just talking about ghost stories here, Jean-Philippe. Les fantômes. C'est les histoires de fantômes. Aujourd'hui. Or, ce soir. Okay, let's see. So, any other... I've just clicked off where I was. Okay, but I think that's lots of different ghost stories. That was us an hour slot. So I hope you all enjoyed that. Please, actually, Jackie, I'm going to go and look up that ghost story, see if I can find anything else about it. If you guys have any ghost stories, I know in fact I've got a couple of pals who probably do. I'll go and contact them and see if they've got anything to give me. And then, hopefully next Saturday night I'll be donned up again in my black, to have a wee chat to you all. And tomorrow, like I just said to our Instagram folks, 10 PM tomorrow night. So if you're cooking your dinner, have it later tomorrow. Or have it a bit earlier and start drinking the whiskey, because we are going to do a wee bit of Scottish dancing. So I can stand up like this. I mean, I'll figure it out and I'll show you how to do, for a laugh, the Highland Fling, and I'll also show you some proper country dancing, so the Gay Gordons or something like that, just for a laugh. And we'll have our own little mini Kaylee, and with some whiskey and some dancing. So hopefully you all enjoy it. So let's, just before we go, oh Dee, it's terribly tragic what happened in Nova Scotia. My heart goes out to all of you, as if the world wasn't such a bad place as it is right now for that to have happened. So much love to everybody over in Canada right now, because it's a terrible, terrible time. Let me just see. I'll see you tomorrow night, Dee, so that's great. Thanks, you enjoyed it, Ian? Thanks for everybody again for taking part. And if you like this video, please like and share it. The more shares we get, the more participants, the more bit of a party we can get for the future, and hopefully share the love, and we'll go from there. So thank you, and you can see my lovely roots growing out for the next 5 weeks. Maybe I can like set a new fashion trend in the future. We'll see. But thank you everybody, much love, stay safe, look after yourselves, and I shall see you tomorrow night. I might actually come on a wee bit earlier on Facebook tomorrow night, about 10 to, just to kind of get the party started. and we'll go from there. So take care. Much love. Love yous lots.